What's cracking, everybody? Zerfelros here, bringing you Pokemon Go Badly content. My meta-analysis series has returned. Now that we have Elo again, I'm happy to go over these stupid cups again. So today we're going over the Fossil Cup, and we're going to break it down. So basically, this cup is going to start on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Time. That's Niantic time on Wednesday. It's going to roll for a whole week until 3 p.m. the next week, or Niantic time, so Central for me. Wherever your typical Niantic time is. So this cup is going to consist of water, steel, and rock. Woo! So we basically want to find the things that beat water, steel, and rock, and that's what's going to dominate this cup. So I'm going to break it down into some of the main meta bad boys of each type, and then we're going to look at some spicy stuff and maybe some cores and core breakers. So first up, we've got the steels, right? So first thing that you'll notice, Registeel and Bastiodon and Skarmory are kind of like the three big name steals. Obviously, you've got Galarian Stunfisk, but who cares about Galarian Stunfisk, right? Those are going to be the four big bad boys of the cup as far as the seals go. You're going to see them. They're going to be there, so plan for them and plan accordingly. So Swampert already kicks the pants off of everything on this page, right? Except Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn's looking pretty decent. So you've got Lucario as the number 2 Pokemon in the entire meta because it's got that Shadow Ball and it can use counter, and it's basically unresisted damage for pretty much the entirety of this meta. So Lucario is looking to be pretty good here. Ferrothorn clocking in at number 3, being able to core break a lot of the rock and waters. It beats a lot of the waters, and it doesn't really have to contend with the other steels too much. If it's got Thunder, it can usually at least do neutral damage to everything. Maybe it can't handle the likes of Bastiodon as well as it could, or, you know, it can't really deal with Registeel, but everything else here it has play against. So Ferrothorn is very effective in this cup because of that grass typing. And then after that, we've got Escav, got that counter drill run damage. It's a very strong counter user, much like Lucario. It just doesn't have that, you know, hard-hitting, unresisted damage from Shadow Ball like Lucario does. But got Excadrill also in here. It's the budget Stunfisk, right? Coming at number 52 down here. All these steels are really going to be, you know, you've either got your super bulky steels on the top, or you've got the super frail ones on the bottom that have dynamic movesets and can do a lot. So you're going to see some of those spicier ones on the bottom. Now, Berserker comes in at 13 because it's got close combat, foul play. Anything with Shadow Claw is a good Pokemon to use anyway. So obviously all the steels have to be afraid of ground type users, so the Mud Boys of this cup, and then anything really that has counter damage, you know, even fire damage, if there is any, can be feared. But there's not a whole lot of that to be had here. So let's jump into the next typing here and break that down. You kind of got an idea of what steals to expect here already. So rock types, there's not a lot of good rock types in this meta. I'll show them to you. Here's the list. It's 5 rock types that I can see in the meta that you might actually run into. Credilli is one. It's the Fossil Cup. It's the only fossil Pokemon you're probably going to see. And Barbaracle, it's very spammy. It's got Fury Cutter, it's got Cross Chop, it's got, on here it says it has Grass Knot, so very effective moveset, actually, to core break some of the meta. So you might see some Barbaracle out there in some content videos. Probably not me. I don't have one built. I don't know if I'm going to build one. But if I do, you might see it. Lycanroc is a counter user. It's a rock type, has Psychic Fangs. It's very good at being a debuffing you know, powerhouse. Regirock has, as I always say, the quickest Stone Edge in the West, and having Focus Blast also allows it to hit pretty much the entire meta for just about neutral damage between the 2 moves that it has. And you can run it with Zap Cannon if you want to. It has it. And then Sudowoodo is the tree that doesn't move unless you put a watering can on its foot. If you play Gen 2, you know what I'm talking about. Sudowoodo is a counter user, actually kind of breaks a bit of the meta apart as well. But unfortunately can't really tangle with the water types unless it's got energy. And Earthquake and Rock Slide is not a bad moveset, but the Earthquake does take a little while to get to. But this is essentially the rocks right here. There's not a lot. Bastiodon is another rock type, but we already covered that in the steel page because it kind of just goes with that group anyway, because it's also steel. You get down here and you're talking about things like Tortuga, Relicanth, Magcargo. Not really anything you're going to find because Swampert, speaking of water types, is going to be on every goddamn team. So is Araquanid and Walrein. Like, the waters is really where the meta is going to come from. So you're going to see Swampert, Araquanid, Pelipper, Walrein, Azumarill, the Poly Brothers, Swagsire. You're going to see them all. You're going to see them all. And so this is why I was expecting Ferrothorn to be very effective in this cup, because it does do very well against literally everything on this page. Poliwrath is going to be a good one too, because it's got that dynamic punch, it's got Scald, it's got Ice Punch. So the thing is, Pelipper also, I think will do very well here. You're looking to counter the Swampert, Araquanid, Walrein immediately. And the best bet you're going to have to do that is probably something like Poliwrath or Quagsire or Pelipper. Those are kind of like the anti-meta, but meta kind of picks here. So Azumarill's also here because it's literally going to be in every meta it's legal in. So, you know, it's there. It exists. So not going to dwell too long on these. I think that we're pretty well set. The waters are very dominant. They're going to be there. You can expect to see them. So that's why I was kind of looking at some of those grass types that have play against the steel types and the rock types to really shine here. So time for the spice picks, boys and ladies. Everybody plays this game. Boys and ladies. All right. Magnezone, Ludicolo. Ludicolo is interesting because it's got Leaf Storm, and it's also got Bubble, and it's got Razor Leaf. It's a water grass type, so that makes it kind of good against the water types and the rock types. The steel types it will struggle with a bit, but Registeel is really the only thing that can really like just destroy it because it's the pure steel typing. Even Bastiodon has to fear a Leaf Storm after a while. So Tapu Fini is basically your offensive Azumarill. It's going to be out there. It's not going to be as often you're going to see it because it's harder to get one from the trades. I know I wasn't able to get one, and I'm very sad about it. Wormadam, you probably won't see very many, but it is on the list being a steel type. It kind of gets boned by literally everything, so it's probably not going to be out there. Fortress has its steel, has access to Earthquake, so it may very well be on some teams. Earthquake from Fortress is to be feared. It's not dominating, but it still hurts like a truck. Whiscash is the budget Swampert. You might see those out there because the ground type Mud Bomb is going to be very effective, and then you've got Blizzard to deal with pretty much everything else. So one of the things that I actually expect to do fairly well in this meta is Rainy Castform. So think about it, right? Rainy Castform's only real problem here is going to be the grass subtypes, so like things like Ferrothorn and Cradily. But aside from that, Water Gun, Weather Ball, and Thunder are fairly good moves to have in this meta. So I would definitely expect Rainy Castform to make a splash. Yeah, see the pun? I did it. Gyarados is up here. It kind of does okay. Again, we're kind of getting down into the spicy territory. Mawile you might see out there because it's a steel type. If it's got Fire Fang, it'll eat a Registeel alive. Like, no joke. It'll completely incinerate. Not really. Melt it, I think is the better word. And then you've got Alolan Sandslash. So Alolan Sandslash is okay here, but kind of doesn't have more but neutral coverage and play against pretty much everything. Having Bulldoze makes it very good to use against things like Bastiodon and Registeel, but the fact that it's Ice and Steel typing makes it double weak to counter, double weak to any fire damage that may be in this meta, and then you've also got to deal with the fact that it needs to bulk the things that are in the meta, like, you know, Swampert's hitting it for neutral and it has to deal with that. Hydro Cannons are going to hurt like a truck. Excuse me. Bastiodon can still outbulk it even though it gets double super effective damage from the Bulldoze. Registeel can still outbulk it even though it takes super effective damage from the Bulldoze. So you've got to play around if you're going to run an A-Slash. But it's legal and it's interesting, so I will give it some credit here. Last page of the Spice. Marsh Stomp, if you got one built, this is not a bad place to use it. That Mud Bomb, once again, just like Whiscash, Mud Bomb is not a bad thing to have here. And then you can have, you know, I think it knows Surf and Sludge as well. So you've got coverage moves for whatever you're seeing in the meta. Jellicent is interesting because it does deal very well with Araquanid, Swampert, and Walrein. And it can tangle with a lot of the steels and rocks. Registeel is a problem because of Zap Cannon, but it's just, Jellicent is a very interesting pick here. Lombre XL, I've lost to a Lombre XL. They exist, they're a pain, and they're out there, and they're not bad. I think it has like, is it like Bubble, Grass Knot, Ice Beam or something like that? Let's see, Lombre. Yeah, Bubble, Grass Knot, Ice Beam. It's a very it's a very good move set for coverage. So expect it. Well, I wouldn't say expect it, but it could be out there, and you might get your pants caught down by one. So be careful. Empoleon and Samurott are the Hydro Cannon water users that aren't Swampert. in this meta, so be aware that they do exist. If you see a lot of grass types, Samurott might come out to play because Fury Cutter damage adds up very quickly, whereas Empoleon is just very strong. It can 2-shield through a lot of things if it needs to, like Bastiodon, and it has a very good matchup against. Lantern also very similarly has electric and water, so it's pretty bulky too, so it's going to be an interesting pick if you see a lot of things like they're just the pure waters, maybe the steel types that can't handle it. So the reason why I threw Sea King down here is because it's got Drill Run and Icy Wind, which makes it very an interesting pick here, because even though it's got Poison Jab, this is triple legacy, by the way, I'm not messing with anything other than that. The Drill Run is able to deal with the steels and rocks, and then it resists the damage from water types for the most part. So it's really, I mean, it can hit the grass types for super effective with the Poison Jabs too. So it's a very unique and diverse moveset. Your bunny? Go get your bunny at. Golisopod. My daughter wants her bunny. She's adorable. The Golisopod is listed here. I don't have moveset data for it yet. I don't think any of us do. At the time of this recording, it literally knows Struggle. That's it. So if this thing gets some sort of coverage move like Close Combat, or something that can allow it to tangle with the rocks and the fighters, or not the rocks and the steels, but also have play against things like Araquanid, this thing is going to be a pain in the neck for a lot of people, and it's going to dominate this meta. So keep an eye on it. If it's got good movesets, this thing is going to make waves in this meta and be very hard to deal with, because it's the same typing as Araquanid, much less bulky, I believe. But if the moveset hits just right, this thing is going to just take over this cup, I feel like. So let's look at some cores now. Just going to give you the visual up on the screen here. We've got the Swampert, Quagsire, and Skarmory. So Skarmory cores very well with all of the Mud Boys for the most part. It's a very strong core. You know it from Great League. There's not much to say here. You kind of know how it goes. Skarmory deals with the things that deal with the Mud Boys, and Mud Boys deal with the things that deal with Skarmory. So very simple. Same thing with Araquanid and G-Fisk. That's another one that's been all over the place ever since Araquanid came out. We know that Stunfisk and it form a pretty tight core. No difference in this meta, but some slightly less known cores here on the bottom. We've got the Credilli Escavalier core, which is actually not perfect, but very strong. Could be like a, Escavalier double rock core, maybe. Since there's very few counter users, you don't have to fear them as much, and Credilli has Stone Edge, which makes it very, very potent against a lot of things. And on the right-hand side of the screen, we've got the Pelisteel core here. So Pelipper Double Steel is an extremely strong team to run in a meta that's dominated by things like Swampert, Araquanid, G-Fisks, Registeel itself. A lot of these things that Pelipper just flies right over, rather. So let's take a second, go through these cores here. First, we're going to look at the Skarmory Swampert core. So just going to roll right through the Teambuilder real quick and kind of show you this core here. So really only truly broken up by a Lucario with shields or a Swampert with shields, right? So this team is very solid. It's very solid in Great League. Ferrothorn is going to be a bit of a pain, especially if the Ferrothorn is running Thunder. That basically means it rolls the whole team. So that's why I was saying Ferrothorn is very interesting in this cup. It's got very good coverage. But then you've got Primplup and Shadow Swampert are the only other two things that really break the core apart. Lucario does an okay job at it. And the Rainy Cast form, as I mentioned, was going to do very well here. Walrein, the Shadow Walrein, does pretty decently here because it can deal with Skarmory, it can deal with Swampert. Quagsire does land the Stone Edges to destroy a Walrein and all of its children, but it has to get there first. That's quite a buildup of energy to get there. So in general, yeah, this core is very strong. It's very BBML sort of meta, so you can expect to see it. And speaking of BBML, we've got the Araquanid Stunfisk core. So once again, going to run through this one. This one is literally almost the definition of a perfect core. The only thing that can potentially break this core is a Stunfisk itself. Everything else, Pelipper and Toxicroak, by the way. Not sure how Toxicroak is in here. I think this is the open. It's because this is the Open Great League. Look at me. Look at me. Not even proofreading my own video. Look at that. All right. No, let's take a look at this. So Lucario is about the only thing that can potentially break this core, aside from the Stunfisk itself. But keep in mind that the Lucario has to land the Shadow Ball on the Araquanid in order to truly take that matchup. So Pelipper, Tapu Fini, and Excadrill are the only other things that you're actually worried about with this particular core. So if you start to see those things kind of surface a bit more, this core may not be the best one to run. But it's a very strong, very meta core. You can't go wrong with it, is where I'm trying to go with this. The Credilli S Cavalier core, one of the more interesting ones that I found here. There are some things that break it naturally, but the things that break it are actually not dominating core breakers. Like Araquanid, okay, Credilli still has Stone Edge, S-Cavalier is still a Steel type, and it still is able to do a lot of damage to the Araquanid. And the same thing for Skarmory. So S-Cav does a lot of counter damage, Credilli has Stone Edge. So like none of these matchups are going to be super dominating one way or the other, and you can play around them. Now, Mawile, however, is probably going to melt the face off of this core. So if you start seeing Mawile, maybe not the time to run it. But Skarmory, as we said, and then S-Cavalier itself can definitely put a handle on this core. So it's not, like I said, it's not one of the most airtight cores, but it was an interesting one that I found, and Credilli is also an interesting pick for this cup. So probably going to see that in some content this week as well. And then the final one that I'm going to take a look at here is the Pelisteel core, which we've got. It looks like super strong. Like this, because of the way the Sims work, the Lucario is baiting a Power Punch, landing a Shadow Ball for the most part. So if you see Lucario, that is a very, like, it works and it doesn't. So you're going to have to try and play around with that one. But as far as the Sims go, Sudowoodo is the only core breaker to this whole team. You've got Quagsire that can do pretty well here if it lands, Earthquake or the Stone Edge on the Registeel or the Pelipper, or vice versa. Magnemite, Magneton, I guess, if you see them. I mean, that's you one battle out of maybe like 200 battles you're going to see one. So very unlikely. But I mean, like the core breakers exist, but they're very few and far between. So you've got play against the entire meta with the Pelisteel line. So this is actually looking more like BBML to me than anything else because of just how tight this trio is here. So that's the Fossil Cup, everybody. Literally running everything but fossils. Fancy that. One fossil in the entire meta that's actually workable. So awesome. Anyway, catch you guys in the next video. Just real quick, I'm going to do a shout out to my patrons. You guys are already aware of all of this stuff. And if you want to get the meta tips, the teams, everything earlier than it can hit YouTube, please consider joining my Patreon Discord, link in the description and in this video here. And if you're looking to get better at GBL, looking for some guidance, some advice, some tips, coaching in general, I do offer that service on Metafy. Check out the link in the description and or in the video for that. And thank you so much for watching. Hopefully the Fossil Cup goes well for you. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe button. And in the comments, let me know how your Fossil Cup is going if you're playing it before you check this video out. Otherwise, let me know what team you want to run for the Fossil Cup. I'm interested to seeing some ideas here because honestly, I mean, there's ideas, but this Fossil Cup is going to be a mess. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one for real this time. All right, bye.